Honestly, we really are not. I mean, the fact the symbolic meeting last week in Istanbul, I mean, again, and the release of 1,000 prisoners of war on each side, that's an important step. But where the Russians, as they say, they're going to provide their memorandum, it's going to look exactly as it looked in 2022 when the Ukrainians very much believed they could not stop the Russian military. It's going to be capitulation, and the Ukrainians are not going to accept that, nor should Europe, nor should the United States and other advanced democracies. But the question is, how do you respond? Europe has been talking about increased sanctions. They're preparing, the EU, the 17th, now onto the 18th package. But this is going to require real, deep, painful sanctions. The United States is going to have to be involved in those. And again, the president has been talking about these sanctions. They just haven't materialized. So how serious are we going to be? And you're absolutely right. The Europeans working, a reassurance force, the United Kingdom and France have taken the lead on this, but they don't know what agreement they are enforcing. And the role of the United States would be critical in any post-conflict peacekeepers or what have you. So we are far from getting to an end of this conflict.
People, and something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
Pretty vehement. Mr. Trump was also critical of Volodymyr Zelensky, writing online that everything out of his mouth causes problems. Responding to Trump's claim that Putin has gone absolutely crazy, the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said the comments might be as a result of emotional overload. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has also said that the US, Britain, France and Germany have all agreed to lift all range restrictions on weapons given to Ukraine. It means that Kiev can use Western-made cruise missiles to strike up to 200 miles into Russian territory. Lots to talk about then. So to chew it all over with me is Heather Conley, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under George W. Bush. You've got two assistants in your job title in my queue. Heather, good evening.
Well, it's great to be with you, Nick. Thanks.
Now, listen, let's talk about Trump's reaction, first of all, because that's the most visceral response. Obviously, horrendous attack overnight in Ukraine. The idea that Vladimir Putin's gone absolutely crazy, this is someone who Donald Trump has been accused of cozying up to now. Do you think this is the scales falling from his eyes about what Vladimir Putin's really about, or just another off-the-cuff statement that we can't draw too much from?
I would take the latter. We shouldn't draw too much from the president's comments. I think what is challenging for all of us as we analyze this president is that he many times comments on global situations, yet he is the chief policymaker for the United States. And I think we get those two confused. I think the president's also trying to grapple with the fact that he had this excellent phone call, 2-hour phone call with President Putin just on Monday. And over the last 48 hours, we've seen some of the most devastating aerial bombardment of Ukraine by Russia. I mean, the numbers, Nick, are startling. 9 ballistic missiles, 900 drones. We have cruise missiles, and Ukraine's air defenses simply cannot match this. So this is not someone interested in peace. Mr. Putin is interested in victory, his victory. So I guess my question back to President Trump is, what are you going to do about it? You're commenting on you don't like the situation, but there's been no shift in U.S. policy, no new announcements. And I think that's where we've just been spinning our tires the last several weeks.
Yeah, it has been several weeks since J.D. Vance said the U.S. might just walk away, but we don't know what walking away actually looks like. Walking away to try and maintain the status quo with the supply of weapons and tacit political support, or dropping hands, which of course would be a disaster for Ukraine. Where do you see this going from here?
So I think the first important step was the signing of this bilateral critical minerals agreement between the United States and Ukraine. I think that unlocked in President Trump's mind that the United States was not going to get ripped off if they provided assistance to Ukraine, that they would get something for it in the future. Now, the difference here is there are not going to be any future U.S. national security supplementals to provide through grants and others. You're not going to see that again. But I think the door opened for Ukraine to be able to purchase U.S. weaponry. I don't sense they'll put the restrictions on the weapon systems that the Biden administration frequently did. They restricted and then they would, over time, release those restrictions. But there is such a scarcity right now of air defense capabilities, particularly those Patriot batteries. And this is something that the entire NATO alliance has to address. And I think certainly it will be raised at next month's NATO summit.
How significant is I mean, it wasn't really an announcement by Friedrich Merz, was it? It was a kind of an aside. He said that they've taken all range restrictions, as have US, Britain and France, from weapons that have been given to Ukraine. Is that going to make any difference?
Well, it does, meaning that it gives the Ukrainians authority to strike deeper into Russian territory. But you're absolutely right. Just speaking of Chancellor Merz's announcement, yet Germany has not authorized or sending Taurus long-range missiles, something that the candidate, Friedrich Merz, had said he would do. So you're right, there's confusion, but it is symbolically important that they can do that. And of course, the Russians have already responded, saying that would be very dangerous and would escalate the conflict. But we'll take every step we can get at this point.
I mean, the Russians have been remarkably consistent since they started the war. They want all of Ukraine and they're not going to settle for anything less. What's their exit strategy in this?
They've never sought an exit. And I think this is, again, we have now been able to analyze this for 11 years. Russia started this war in 2014. They have never wanted an off-ramp, an exit ramp. The West has wanted the off-ramp, the exit ramp. And in some ways, President Trump analyzed the situation correctly yesterday, that Putin wants total victory. The question is, how is the West going to stop that? Again, those numbers that I gave you, this is happening in Europe today. Ballistic missiles, there has to be an element of stopping this, but you just can't see Europe being able to put forward new sanctions, new weapons delivery. The U.S. is on the sidelines very purposefully. So it's very unclear how the West is going to respond to this acceleration of the conflict by Russia.
Because, I mean, if any strategy is to hold, you're going to need some kind of agreement over where the line is, the border line between Russia and Ukraine. You're going to need boots on the ground to enforce it so the Ukrainians can feel safe in what territory they've got left. That's before you can even start to make long-term plans about what happens maybe post-Putin, etc. And we seem to be a million miles from that right now. In fact, we don't seem to be anywhere different from where we were back in 2023.
Honestly, we really are not. I mean, the fact the symbolic meeting last week in Istanbul, I mean, again, and the release of 1,000 prisoners of war on each side, that's an important step. But where the Russians, as they say, they're going to provide their memorandum, it's going to look exactly as it looked in 2022 when the Ukrainians very much believed they could not stop the Russian military. It's going to be capitulation, and the Ukrainians are not going to accept that, nor should Europe, nor should the United States and other advanced democracies. But the question is, how do you respond? Europe has been talking about increased sanctions. They're preparing, the EU, the 17th, now onto the 18th package. But this is going to require real, deep, painful sanctions. The United States is going to have to be involved in those. And again, the president has been talking about these sanctions. They just haven't materialized. So how serious are we going to be? And you're absolutely right. The Europeans working, a reassurance force, the United Kingdom and France have taken the lead on this, but they don't know what agreement they are enforcing. And the role of the United States would be critical in any post-conflict peacekeepers or what have you. So we are far from getting to an end of this conflict.
Heather, just before you go, a quick thought, if I may ask you for that, on Hamas reportedly agreeing to Steve Witkoff's ceasefire proposals in Gaza. We don't know where Israel stands on this, so of course there are variables in it. But do you think this is something that could have at least the seeds of the potential to get some of the hostages back for Israel?
Yeah, I don't think so. Since that Hamas announcement, you've had U.S. Special Envoy Witkoff say that this was not something that he put forward. You had the Israeli government saying this would not be acceptable. And then you had Prime Minister Netanyahu, excuse me, just offer a video saying more news forthcoming. So I hate to tell you, it's complete confusion. But it seems to me the Israeli government has really made a decisive decision about changing the calculation and the calculus in Gaza. And I think this is going to bear enormous humanitarian consequences, as well as consequences for the entire Middle East. So it's unclear to me if the Israeli government is open to these types of ceasefire arrangements, that they've moved past it. And it's unclear to me whether Mr. Witkoff's negotiation and his diplomacy, there's even room for that. We've seen real tensions in the U.S.-Israeli relationship over the last several weeks, and it's just unclear to me what ceasefire conversations they're really having. This feels like an endpoint to me.
Heather, thank you very much indeed. We're going to be discussing the Middle East in the next hour of the programme with Fawaz Gerges, the Middle East expert and Professor of International Relations for the FSE. But for now, Heather, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening. That's Heather Conley, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under George W. Bush. Right, new data has revealed that higher taxes on second homes and holiday lets on Britain's most expensive